Aloha, welcome to Malama Kupuna. I'm attorney Scott Makuakane of the law firm of Estate Planning Counsel. And I'm joined this week by my dear friend David Nakamaejo of Comforting Hands Senior Care. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about caregiving. We're going to talk about what to look for in caregivers and what to look for in agencies that provide caregiving services. And who knows, our conversation may go a little bit further afield than that. David has been in the business for a while and has some really deep and really helpful insights that I'd like to share. Before we launch into that, though, I'd like to start with what I normally start the show with, and that's kind of a little health update, and that's based on recent news that I came across. And this is a very interesting report on a couple of studies that have been done regarding phosphates. You know, a lot of the foods that we eat have preservatives in them or just various chemicals that are added to stabilize the flavor or whatever. Phosphates are found in processed cheese, things like Parmesan cheese. They're found in colas, baking powder, and most processed foods, frankly. And what they do is they end up causing a concentration of a hormone in your bloodstream that actually affects your kidney's ability to kind of recycle calcium and to recycle sodium. And if you mess up that balance, what happens is there's too much sodium, the kidneys can become calcified, the cardiovascular system can become calcified, leading to high blood pressure, leading to all kinds of problems. So, you know, there are all kinds of sort of behavior and diet-related things that we can do as we get older that really impact our health and that impact our well-being. And so this is just a recent reminder that you got to watch what you eat, and especially making sure that you check things like phosphates in your food. The more chemicals we have in our food, the more possibilities for various unintended side effects. And so phosphates can cause kidney problems. They can cause high blood pressure. Both of those can give rise to diabetic problems. And so just be really aware. And also, you know, if your doctor prescribes medication, let's say for high blood pressure, and it doesn't seem to be working, look to your diet. There are things you can do in your diet that can help bring that blood pressure down. So anyway, so much for the science update. So David, what I'd like to do is have you kind of just give us a little bit of history of your background, how you got involved in senior care, and then let's get kind of down to the nitty-gritty of what to look for in a caregiver, what to look for in an agency that's helping you find caregivers.
Sure. I'll make a long story.
Okay.
Short story.
We have half an hour, so.
Well, I started this business, my wife and I, we started this business 10 years ago. In fact, come November, we're 11 already. Back in 2003. And it kind of like tied in with me taking care of my father. And at that time, I was with the university teaching at KCC. And, you know, it's a typical mom calls up and says, oh, Dad needs to cut his hair. And I said, oh, okay. And he, at that time, he passed away recently, went to Tom's Barbershop in Ala so it was close. So I thought, like, open my calendar, and it was a Tuesday, and, you know, I told my mom, well, the earliest I can go is either Thursday or Friday. She goes, no, I want them now. It's like, Mom, does that?
Oh, yes.
I booked, Mom, you know, and she goes, oh, and I says, well, let me, you know, see if I can change my schedule. And their bank is the First Hawaiian Bank by the old stadium. Passing through the lobby, you know, did some business for them. In the bulletin board, they had a Moilili Community Center flyer. In that flyer, it had about senior care services. So I said, ooh. So I called them up, and when I asked them about transportation, they said, oh yeah, we've got volunteers. And I said, oh good, and especially when they found out, okay, your parents live in Makale, Ala Sena, no problem, he's within the district we service. And then I said, can someone take my father Thursday? He goes, no, you gotta wait 2 weeks.
What? They weren't gonna drop everything right then and there for your dad?
Yeah, right. So it's like 2 weeks. He says, yeah, if we can find, like, wow, you know, it's because of the need. So, you know, we started looking into, you know, at that time, what kind of business to start to. It just so happened, and of course, what kind of franchises that people are familiar with are like the Subways out there at the list, right? Subways, the Burger King, McDonald's. Then there were other companies that were in the top 10 that we never heard of that was growing, and Comfort Keepers and Home Instead. So I said, what are those? And then when I did research, that's when we found out, like, wow, it's the home care. As we did more research 10 years ago, when you think about it now, but now there was going to be a boom. I mean, we're in it now already.
That's right.
Yeah. But back 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I mean, it was just beginning to pick up speed. Now it's just going full, just going at it in terms of how many seniors are getting into the group. So that's how we started. I mean, and we're part of a network called the Seniors Choice, and that is made up of independent home care agencies. And this is the largest in the United States. We're also international: Canada, Singapore, Korea, Japan. So we're part of this network, and we're all independently owned, but we collectively can get breaks on bond insurance, liability insurance, that kind of thing. And we meet regularly, so we learn from each other because we're not competitive. Yeah. So
one of the things I find is that very often people who get into the care business begin with some personal situation where they're providing care for a dad, providing care for a mom. And I've even talked with people who, maybe provided care when they were teenagers. They provided care for a grandparent or something like that. And it's just something that's always stuck with them. So that when they started thinking about career and they started thinking about starting a business, that's sort of the direction they went. Now, you started your business. Is your business part of a franchise, or is it?
Oh, we're part of a network, and we're independent.
Okay.
Yeah. Independently owned. It's how would you say? So each of us we own our own business, and the Seniors Choice is somewhere like 200 odd, almost 300 members nationwide. Like I said, international. So we're independently owned. We're not part of a franchise. Yeah.
Okay. So you come up with your own best practices,
Yeah.
or is this something that's shared among the group?
It's shared among the group. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that made us choose to go that route instead is when I did talk to other members who are already in, because again, the president, Steve Everhart, said, call members. You want any list? You just tell me what area you want, and I'll give you the names. You can call them up. So when I called one of the members at that time, they said, well, if you are to start, for example, a hamburger joint, or you're gonna start, you want to get into fried chicken, then you should get into a franchise that's well known. But if you're gonna get into a home care agency, getting into a franchise has got its balance, pluses and minuses, but it's really, no one's not gonna know who Comfort Keepers, even though Comfort Keepers is one of the big ones, and Home Instead. So we said, yeah, it doesn't really matter. So that person said, by joining a network, you get the benefit of being in a franchise, but not tied in where, like you said, you got to follow certain rules if you're in a franchise. When you're not, then you can develop your own best practices that suits your locale. And Hawaii is so unique in some things, how we do business, how we think about business, the dynamics of how family caregiving is very different from the mainland. Not completely different, but different from the mainland.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are cultural differences.
Yeah, cultural
no doubt.
differences. Yeah, and we're such a mixing pot. Yeah, all these different cultures.
So what does a home care agency do in general? And then we'll get more specific.
Yeah, that's a good question. What a lot of families need to learn about home care. Actually, there is two major types of agencies that will help take care of the elder. The ones that we are, the kind of business model we are, is called a home care. The state calls us a home care agency. And what that means is that we provide non-medical services. Okay, non-medical meaning light housekeeping, medication reminder, light meal preparation, that kind of thing for the elder to help take care of activities of daily living, bathing assistance, getting them in and out of the tub so they don't fall, and that kind. Then there's a home health agency, and they are licensed. They're required to be licensed. And the reason why, and it's for obvious reasons, why the state, all the states license, home health agencies, is because you need to have certified RNs, that will come in and do, like, for example, it's not uncommon for the doctor to say, we are releasing your mom, she's on IV, this IV needs to be changed, but then you need certified RN
Yeah, of
that can
course,
do that, or changing the catheter, tube feeding, wound care. Your father went through surgery. He's not completely healed yet, and he has a dressing that needs to be changed. They call it wound care, and then the physician. So that's when you go to a home health agency. These are licensed, and they are regulated by the state, which makes sense. Yeah.
Now, your company is not a home health agency, is it?
No, we're a home care agency.
Home care. So if someone, let's say, needs both kinds of care over a course of time, so dad gets out of the hospital, needs the wound care, has a home health agency come in, but may not always need a home health agency. Do sometimes the company sort of pass off the...
No, what usually happens is because the home health agency will have home care services also.
Okay.
So what will happen if, and the discharge planner and social workers at the hospitals or the skilled nursing facilities understand the difference. So if sending the older adult home requires a home health agency, they'll provide the list of home health agencies to the family. And you bring up a real good point, because the easy way to figure out the difference, the home health agency, the doctor usually drives the services. In other words, the doctor or the physician is the one that says, okay, Scott, we're going to send mom home. You need this kind of services, this kind of PT. You're going to need a skilled RN to come in to do wound change. I'm going to recommend, X amount of times a week and all of that. So the physician is the one that's driving that. Versus the home care agency, what we do is we service that group of older adults that are in the middle, in terms of they don't need specialized medical professional services, but they just driving the adult children crazy. So we come in once, twice, 3 times, or whatever, a week to help the adult children take care of the older adult. And the physician is not going to give the orders, the family does, because the physician is not going to say, Scott, your mom's fine, checkup's good, come back next quarter, once 3 months from now. But he's not going to tell you this. He's not going to say, she needs her bed sheets changed twice a week. And,
Sure.
you better have your dishes no.
Yeah.
But it's driving you crazy. So the family one is usually the one that decides, okay, we got to bring in somebody once a week or twice a week and help out, or 3 times or whatever. And home care agencies and home health agencies should, that type of service, when they provide home care services, activities of daily living assistance, the family should drive the amount of services, how many times, when to come in. So they're the ones who will tell the agency. They shouldn't let the agency tell them, okay, we're going to come 3 times a week. It's up to the family. Because sometimes the family can handle it. It's just that maybe they may need weekends as a break, or vice versa. They can handle weekends, but during the week, because they're working, they need the assistance, because they've got their own personal life and families that they need to take care of. Yeah, so that's the major difference between a home care agency, which is non-medical, and then a home health, which is that's the medical side.
Okay, very good. Well, it's just about time for a break.
Okay.
We're going to come back right after this message and maybe talk about how you go about picking the people that you bring into your company.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Estate planning isn't just for the super wealthy. There are some important legal documents that should be part of all of our rule books, the sets of instructions for what will happen if we're not able to give directions ourselves. To learn more, give us a call at 587-8227 to reserve a seat at one of our free, no pressure or obligation estate planning workshops. That's 587-8227, or check out the resources we've posted at www.est8planning.com.
Aloha, welcome back to Malama Kupuna. I'm attorney Scott Makuakane with the law firm of Estate Planning Counsel, and I'm talking with David Nakamaejo of Comforting Hands Senior Care. And we've been talking about just some of the kinds of things that an agency like his does, and just different kinds of services that may be required for our kupuna. And what I'd like to talk about now, David, is just what do you look for when you're hiring the people to come in and be caregivers? What do you look for?
Well, foremost on our list is that aptitude in the person in wanting to take care of elders. In other words, they have to have that, if you want to phrase it this way, that personality for it, and the desire. So we look for someone who displays compassion, someone who is patient, that kind of thing. And it's really a challenge, and in finding those in individuals. It's not like I give an example to other people when they ask that kind of questions you just asked. Giving someone, like what she was looking at in terms of the phosphorus, which is interesting. Here, read this. You're handling preschool, toddlers, preschool. Read this 5-page thing, and once you finish reading it, you know how to handle a little one throwing an absolute tantrum in the room.
Right.
You just gotta have it in you. I mean, no matter what you read.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, stay cool. Make sure the kid doesn't get hurt. Let him just exhaust himself, and then everything will be just fine. Yeah. So that's also on the opposite end of the continuum. We need, or we make every attempt to find out if that caregiver has that type of personality where they come to work, they clock in, and the mister repeats the same story again, over and over again, and then you got to act like that's the first time you're hearing it. Yeah, or someone who has, for example, dementia, and one of the things that our caregivers we train, and they know that you never argue with someone with dementia or Alzheimer's because you're going to lose. So just agree. You know what I mean?
Are you saying my wife has Alzheimer's or dementia? I was loose.
Yeah. So you come to like for example, today's say for example it's Monday, and then the senior says, well, today's Sunday, just ride with it. I mean, no sense. No, today's Monday. Go tell no Sunday. Yeah, today's Monday. No, today's Sunday. Like, just agree because you're gonna lose. So that's just some of the things that we tell the family. But that's what we look for, and then we also look for being dependable, because what drives my competitors, my fellow business people that are in this business, that they don't show up on time, the caregivers. So we absolutely look for, you got to be dependable. And the way we screen them out real quick and get to the point is, set up an interview, you got to be on time. You're not on time, you're out. Okay, yeah. First training, you get first day of training, you're late, you're out. You don't pass it. You don't pass.
Yeah, no 3 strikes.
Yeah. No 3 strikes, because that just drives us absolutely bonkers. And then what also we do is that we keep the same caregiver with the senior. We don't flip and flop out, because
that's probably really important. Just that stability.
Yeah, that stability. So we look for that kind of trait in the caregivers, because most of us can clean house, cook a simple meal, be companions,